Last year, my goal was to do a segment of Your Next Dive where I featured Key Largo, a dive mecca here in the United States. I wanted to time this segment for just after we returned from Key Largo in April of 2020. Well, we all know how that turned out. We did not get there. And again, in 2021, we were not able to plan out an excursion as we would have hoped to. 2022, however, is on the horizon. But I didn't want to wait any longer to talk about Key Largo. So here we go with Your Next Dive, where we travel to Key Largo, Florida. I think I've mentioned it before here on the podcast that my first dives after getting certification were with It's a Dive, located at the Marriott Hotel on the Overland Highway in Key Largo. And it was fantastic. How about your first real dive being on a real historic wreck, the City of Washington, a ship that was in Havana Harbor when the USS Maine exploded and sank? Now, there are many reasons to choose Key Largo as your dive destination, especially if you live in the eastern part of the United States. First off, it's easy to get to. You can either fly into Fort Lauderdale, which is my preferred airport as I find it logistically easier to navigate, or Miami, which is a little closer to Key Largo. You just hop in your rental car, that is if you can find one these days, and head on down. Now let's talk a little bit about the dive operators in Key Largo. As you can imagine, being the dive mecca that it is, there are quite a number of operators to choose from. It's a Dive at the Marriott is no longer operating, but I will talk about two of the operators I'm familiar with. They are Horizon Divers and Rainbow Reef. Now, right after, only a couple of months after I did that first trip to Key Largo, I returned, and at that time I dove with Horizon Divers. Back then, they were located in the marina at mile marker 100 of the Overseas Highway, and that was right next to the Courtyard by Marriott, which at the time was a Radisson. It was very convenient to roll out of bed, get a quick bite to eat, and stroll over to the dive shop. Horizon Divers has moved, however, and they are now located on the Overseas Highway at mile marker 106. That's the dive shop and the retail store. Their boats are located about a half a mile up the road next to a place called Shipwrecks Oceanside. Now, Rainbow Reef has taken over the old Horizon Diver facility at the mile marker 100 marina. Additionally, they also bought out Ocean Divers on the other side of the marina and have quite a large operation now. The last time we were in Key Largo, we stayed at the Courtyard and dove with Horizon. We were going to go back to Key Largo in 2020 and planned to dive with Rainbow Reef. We didn't make it down there. Now, if you're looking to do more technical diving, then I think Horizon Divers may be a better choice. For the shallow reefs that I like, Rainbow Reef might be a good option as they have those big 46-foot Newton dive boats. Now, I have to admit that I've never done the deeper wrecks down there like the Spiegel Grove or the Duane or the Bibb. But I love the shallow wrecks like the City of Washington, the Hannah M. Bell, also known as Mike's Wreck, and especially the Benwood. They are teeming with fish life and are great places to do fish identification and surveys. You can also experience some great dives on Elbow Reef, Molasses Reef, and French Reef. Another great shallow dive through the Spur and Grove Coral is Christ of the Abyss at Dry Rocks. You can get some great photo opportunities there. The water temperatures in Key Largo range from the mid-70s in the winter months to the mid-80s in the peak of the summer. When I dove in April of 2019, I was pretty comfortable on the shallow reefs with my 3mm wetsuit. If you only want to do 2 morning dives, you can free up your afternoons for some topside adventures. A trip to reef headquarters is interesting, or you can take a tour of the Coral Restoration Foundation. And just down the road is the History of Diving Museum in Almirada. I was really looking forward to getting to the museum last year and hope that I can make it down there next April. Now let's talk about the dining. Well, if you're staying at the courtyard on the marina, you don't have to get in your car and drive someplace. You can just stroll over to Skipper's Dock right on the marina. They have some great conch chowder there. And if you want a burger or some pub food, then walk a little bit further down the dock to Sharky's Shark Bite Grill. You'll probably run into some of the dive staff there hanging out. Now, another great place to eat is the Pilot House, and that's located right near the Coral Restoration Foundation, very close by. And if you're in the mood for pizza, then check out Upper Crust Pizza at mile marker 101.6. Just make sure it's not Wednesday, as they are closed. We made that mistake. So, as I wrap up this segment, if you've been diving in Key Largo, I hope that you will agree that it is really a cool place to dive. And if you've never been there, I would encourage you to consider putting a trip there on your calendar. I regret having taken 14 years between visits. I'm not going to make that mistake again.